That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to give you a profile on Halloween Kills. The latest... it's my Hannibal, Dr. Lecter impression. The latest installment in this ongoing, continuing, never-ending franchise that premiered at the 2021 Venice Film Festival and is being released by Universal and simultaneously streaming on Peacock October 15th, 2021.
You saw this film in Venice.
Yeah, so this is the second time I've seen it.
And then you saw it again last night.
And part of me was wondering if maybe, because when you watch things at a film festival, if I was just not in the mood, I was too cranky. Because I immediately texted you after I saw it. I was like, I hated this film. But, I saw it at 8:30 a.m., first of like 4 or 5 movies that day. But here we are.
Here we are, and you still feel the same way.
Yeah, and I did. What was funny is I remember talking with a group of critics that night after the premiere, and I was trying to find something kind to say about it, and I'm like, well, I did like the opening credits with, the candles and the pumpkins on fire, and somebody said, that's like saying the best part of the book was the font.
Well, yeah, if you're going to be upset we didn't like this movie, just turn this shit off now, because I didn't like it either.
But, so, it was, again, David Gordon Green returning, who directed the 2018 reboot, which, the Halloween franchise is all messed up and all over the place. But, again, David Gordon Green from 2018 is following directly John Carpenter's 1978 original. So, even when you were recounting it with me, we forget that in 1981's Halloween 2 is when they established that Laurie Strode is his sister. They did away with all that still. That's
right. That's an important plot point that we're not to understand he is Laurie Strode's sister. But anyway. Brother. The basic story is a continuation from, what's the name of the previous movie?
Halloween.
Which was made in 2018.
18.
So at the end of that film, well, we know like Laurie Strode, she built like this compound knowing that Michael would come back to try to get her, and she was ready for his ass. So in the last film, it ends with him being locked in a basement and her setting that shit on fire. Well, this film opens with us learning that he was able to get out of the basement, kill all the firefighters there, and then start to make his way back to Haddonfield?
And to his childhood home in Haddonfield.
So the story is just that. Michael wants to get back to his childhood home.
Much like salmon swim up river, I guess.
So he just makes his way, and on the way, he kills a bunch of people, and he makes it back to his home. The end. He doesn't die, obviously, because there's another movie following.
Halloween Ends, which was filmed, as I understand, back-to-back with this, and it will be released a year from now.
That's the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is the story. There is more going on than that. But to me, this felt like Halloween Kills Your Darlings.
Could I just go through my few notes? There could be a drinking game for every time someone says evil dies tonight.
Or the boogeyman.
Or
40
years. And if you play this game, you will be dead from alcohol poisoning in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it is.
It's so stupid. Like, we know Michael Myers is not going to die. Well, on top, the dialogue's bad. This idea is stupid. And the acting's crunchy. So to hear these people, and then we have to get to this whole mob scene, but like hearing these people shouting evil dies tonight I just didn't understand when we know, before you sit your ass in the theater seat or on the couch to watch it on Peacock, you know Michael Myers is not going to die.
Yes, that is a problem in itself, and even at the precipice that you might think it will leave you at, you still know there's a whole ass other movie coming. So there is that problem.
I didn't remember, because I don't remember you text. Now that you say it, I remember you texting me that you hated it, but I didn't remember that one yesterday. I just remember you saying your reaction to it was lukewarm for some reason in my mind. So I'm thinking, oh, maybe I might like this movie. And this damn opening was so dumb. The film set in 2018, but it opens in 1970. Well, it opens in 2018. Then we jump to 1978.
40 years ago.
Then we jump to 1963. Like, it's just all over the place. But the opening is the son of some returning character who's like in college age. It's Halloween, so he's dressed up like a girl, making some stupid phone call with terrible dialogue when he comes upon a police officer who's been injured.
Will Patton from the last film.
And then we flash back to when he and another cop, played by that guy I like from
Jim Cummings, the director of Thunder Road and Wolf of Snow Hollow.
We see them chasing after Michael Myers back in 1978, and then they sort of tell the story of how he was captured by that doctor who's dead.
Dr. Loomis, played by Donald. Leave Donald Pleasance alone. I know you didn't realize it, but that's CGI.
I can't say the CGI was bad because it didn't register to me, but after you said, that man is long since dead.
Yes.
Maybe had I known, I would have commented.
It's much like how they brought Peter Cushing back in Star Wars, and at least there was some dialogue in there that you could gravitate towards. Like the lines that they give degenerated Donald Pleasance. I know they're trying to be in the spirit of kind of the cheesy, fun part of Halloween, but
there's also in the opening like a group of kids picking on another kid.
That dialogue's bad.
That the dialogue, the acting. I think one of the boys was dressed like the Chucky doll.
I think that might have meant to be a clown, but I'm not sure.
That was the scariest thing in the movie, was that the boy with the red wig on.
You don't fuck with the Mulaney's. The dialogue is all off across the board for all characters, which is, considering I did really enjoy the 2018 reboot. I thought it was an interesting take on how trauma has shaped Laurie Strode, etc. You can see how they meant that to convey how trauma and guilt have created Haddonfield in a community of monsters unto themselves. But it's also very on the nose, and none of it is subtle enough to kind of dig into.
The worst character to me was Tommy, played by
Anthony Michael Hall.
We're introduced to him at a talent show, so it's some local bar in Haddonfield, and he gets up to tell the story of Michael Myers. And again, this dialogue, because he starts, first of all, everyone's trying to have a good time, and then he gets up there and tells this like sad ass story, and then the way he's telling it is like no one know, like he's telling everyone about the story they've never heard, but then everyone knows the story. It just made no sense to me how this character told it.
The whole thing about that, because it's set in this Irish bar that's run by this grizzled old black man, and he's the one that tells this other character that, these survivors come to nurse their sorrows every Halloween here. And there are survivors from the original film and also some created ones, like Lonnie Elam, played by Robert Longstreet, is that's the kid in the beginning with that bad dialogue. But then we have returning Kyle Richards and Nancy Stevens from the first film, and Charles Cyphers as well.
Oh, what else to say? I just don't know. I think like the main plot. Well, we're introduced to Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis's character, because we see from the last film she was injured, so she's on her way to the hospital. So Jamie Lee is just laid up in the hospital the entire film.
And doing some scene chewing when she wakes up.
Looking crazy with that wig on. But she's convinced Michael, like she has to go out there and get Michael. But her daughter, played by Judy Greer, thinks that he's going to come back to the hospital to get her. But then the cop, what's his name, Frank?
Officer Hawkins?
He's also in the hospital because he was injured, and then he's trying to do a psychological profile on Michael Myers, explaining that he just wants to go home. Between Laurie explaining that Michael is not human, which is no shit, and that he's getting stronger with people as people's fear of him grows, and then you have the other cop who's in the same hospital room as Laurie saying, well, based on his behavior, he wants to go home. So that sort of tells us everything that's going to happen, which is that he's not going to die and he just wants to go home. Okay, so the bulk of the film is Tommy, this character.
Anthony Michael Hall gets a lot of screen time.
And that character's terribly written. Yeah, and at the point, the worst part of the film to me was him trying to pull together a mob of people to go hunt Michael Myers. And it's him running around this town telling people like, you got to get suited up. We got to go. Meet me on the corner of this and that. And we got to take him down. And evil dies tonight a million damn times. I'm just so confused. Like, it's 2018. It's modern time. We know that there's this like person out here killing everyone. And they're in Illinois, right? Mm-hmm. They can't get the big guns out there to blow Michael Myers' ass up. I just don't.
I think what's shocking,
because it's been happening all night long.
Right. I think in years, many times in the past, but
not if it's from the first film.
Sure.
Right. So presumably 40 years have passed since the first film, but still.
But also, no one just has any sense of like self-preservation techniques.
Right. All these people are like, yeah, let's do this.
Like,
hell no.
They all want to go. Ostensibly lynch this man,
right?
But none of them know how to handle guns or anything. There's a weirdly administered black couple in the beginning at the talent show. A man and a woman. She's a doctor, he's a nurse, and she's already kind of challenging his masculinity. And the previous Halloween, I thought, did interesting things with kind of how all the men were idiots, and it's suggesting that the only people that would be able to take down this killer are a team of women, but they're just very oddly calibrated, but neither of them know how to handle a weapon and then end up getting themselves killed and butchered. And we also find Michael being more vicious and ruthless than before.
Well, might as well talk about that. So yes, the kills are gruesome. Like, probably the most gruesome we've seen Michael Myers. I mean, he's doing some pretty crazy things. They're very graphic. But I guess I'm confused, like, what kind of psychopath is he? Or I guess he is just pure evil, but I don't understand why all of his kills are so stylized, because not only is he killing people in these insane ways, but then he's like doing stuff with their body afterwards, like propping them up in positions. So then, just because I know you're probably going to mention it, Michael Myers' home, which is the point of this story, is that he wants to go home, is now owned by a gay couple.
But you can't go home again, Michael.
It's owned by a gay couple, and of course, when he gets back there, he kills their asses. And then he props them up like in a loving way next to a photo of them in the same position. Mm-hmm. I don't understand, like, what kind of...
It's very odd. I just also really strongly disliked the gay couple who are the town realtors and know very well whose house they're in and still decide to go and see with weapons who's upstairs in their home. Like, why wouldn't you leave? But Big John and Little John, that whole shtick drove me crazy.
Yeah, that was annoying. Okay. So after the initial bar scene, and then after it's on the news that like basically Michael Myers is back because he killed a bunch of people, the group, like Kyle Richards and the black couple and the old lady, they jump in Kyle's Honda Pilot and drive around town looking for Michael Myers, and they stop at a park, which is probably the funniest scene, but then that's also my complaint about the movie, is that the tone seems really weird.
Well, it's written by Danny McBride again, who I think it's safe to say...
Is that actor?
Yeah.
Oh.
And he wrote the script for the first one. But the insertions of comedy in the first one worked a bit, like that little black kid who was obviously trying to hit on his babysitter, who shows up in one segment on the news in this film. But all of that kind of clicked along a lot better. In this, it just doesn't.
But the part where I think it does work is when the crew in the Honda roll up to the park and they see two kids like swinging on a swing set, and then one of them says like, we're just hanging out, and oh, there's some weirdo in a mask who keeps like popping out of the trees.
Playing hide and seek with us. And then there's a pretty... I would say that's the best scene of the film, because Michael kills everyone in the car, chases Kyle Richards down. So... that worked for me, but other than that... And then it starts setting up this notion of us supposedly caring what he looks like without his mask. Because I think by now, it doesn't matter if his mask...
Who cares?
Yeah, because Kyle Richards does make it to the hospital, but she's like, I saw his face. But what does that matter?
So the mob finally makes their way to the hospital. And we find out that when Michael broke out of the psychiatric facility...
The transport.
Like the transport. Vehicle. Another patient escaped as well. Mm-hmm. And that patient has made his way to the hospital. And I thought probably the saddest moment of the film is that man, the mob is there ready to lynch Michael Myers, and that poor man is like saying, help me, help me. And then one person says, that's him. So they all chase him. And Jamie Lee's, Laurie Strode is like, that's not him. but they don't listen, and they chase him up to the top of the hospital, and then he's backed into a corner, so he decides to like jump out of a window to kill himself. I thought that was sad, and I think this film does a good job of demonstrating like mob mentality and how like the feverish stupidity of it. But then the problem is, and you mentioned this earlier today, is it's very one note.
And goes so far as to like have somebody saying it, like it's turning us into monsters. Okay.
Right.
And I get that it's in the spirit of how the first Halloween and Halloween 2 are set on the same night, you know, and going to the hospital again. And that, I kind of wish they had really tried something a little bit more revolutionary with that. Because now it's like, oh, we're still stuck, tied to this Halloween in 2018. It already feels like we should have moved beyond that. And then what it does is hobbles the most interesting facet of Halloween, which has never been Michael Myers. It's been Jamie Lee Curtis, in my mind.
True. I don't mind that it occurs in the same night. It's just so. This writing is ridiculous, and the tone of the film is all over the place. I don't understand why the kills are so graphic.
The way that people speak in the 70s.
This is shady, but I'm just saying this because it was my first reaction when we first see Michael Myers because we don't see his full face, we like in the shadows profile. When they first take off his mask, my first thought was, oh, that's Stanley Tucci, because he's bald and then he has like that horseshoe.
Yeah, but Stanley Tucci's...
No, I know Stanley Tucci's not Michael Myers, but that was my first thought. My last thought is the mob does catch up to Michael Myers, and they effectively kill him. And while they're killing him, we hear Laurie back in the hospital saying, like, he's not human, he grows stronger as people's fear of him grows. So then when we think Michael's dead, he wakes up and then kills everyone. And when I tell you I couldn't have been happier for Michael to kill Tommy, I hated that character so much.
He's extremely grating, and it's just, you know, why should... Anthony Michael Hall is fine. I have fond memories of The Breakfast Club and Edward Scissorhands and Weird Science, but he's continually been in many, many things since then. But it makes this cast quite a pallor over what I think David Gordon Green's going to do with his Exorcist sequel as well. That's going to come out with Ellen Burstyn and Leslie Odom Jr. It just feels like such a pointless placeholder type of film, cash grab. It's like when they were doing the last Twilight film or the last Hunger Games. It's like, let's split the last book into two, and it's like, well, why? Just make one really good film instead of this.
Yeah, I feel had I paid to see this, I would have felt duped.
Well, I've seen it twice now. I don't think it's the worst entry in the Halloween franchise. I mean,
but the original Halloween is so iconic, and just for everyone's knowledge, I have seen all of the films like throughout the years, and also 3 years ago.
In anticipation of the 2018, we watched.
In anticipation of the 2018 film, we watched all of them in like a 3-week period. Mm-hmm. So,
which was a lot.
So I am familiar. I do think the original is great. Mm-hmm. So I'm not a hater. This was just a bad movie.
And you do get that, you know, a kind of revamped Carpenter score who participated in this as well. I mean, even though I already knew I didn't like it the first time I saw it, I still had that little thrill. Again, maybe it's the font, but of I think Mustafa Akkad's or Malek Akkad's name coming up, Mustafa's son, the original producer. There is that kind of twinge of like, oh, it's bringing me back to the nostalgia of my childhood. But
well, you should be used to being disappointed. So do you have anything else to say?
No.
What would you give it?
1 out of 5.
I would give it 1 out of 5 as well. Thank you.